There are moments in history when the fate of humanity rests not in the hands of generals or presidents, but in the quiet judgment of a single man. It was the night of September 26, 1983. The Cold War had frozen the world in paranoia. The United States and the Soviet Union stood on the edge of annihilation. One wrong signal, one wrong command, and within minutes, the sky over Earth would ignite in fire. Inside a secret Soviet bunker called Serpukhov 15, a lieutenant colonel named Stanislav Petrov sat at his console. His job was simple, yet terrifying. Monitor early warning satellites for any signs of a U.S. nuclear attack, and if detected, report immediately to command for retaliation. Petrov was not a hero by design. He was an engineer, a thinker, a man who preferred logic over blind obedience. But above him loomed a chain of command, ruled by fear, by pride, and by absolute faith in technology. That night, alarms screamed. Red lights flashed. The computer system shouted the unthinkable. Missile launch detected. Multiple warheads inbound from the United States. Every instinct screamed to act, to report, to trigger the response that would unleash a storm of nuclear fire. But Petrov did not move. In that moment, one man's hesitation became the barrier between civilization and extinction. The sirens wailed like dying animals. The room pulsed red. Officers shouted. Papers flew, and the commander's voice cut through the chaos, demanding confirmation. Petrov's hands hovered over the phone. He could feel the eyes of his team burning into him. His heart pounded against the hollow hum of machinery. The computer repeated its verdict. Launch confirmed. 5 missiles, then 10, then 20. The air grew electric with terror. One call, and Soviet nuclear missiles would fly, ending everything. Petrov closed his eyes. He exhaled and whispered, "No, it's a false alarm." Silence fell. His superior stared at him, stunned. "How do you know that?" Petrov replied, his voice steady. "Because if they meant to start a war, they wouldn't send only 5. Minutes passed. The screens blinked. The signals vanished. The false alarm faded. And with it, so did the world's brush with destruction. The bunker stayed silent for a long time. The air was thick with disbelief. The crew, trained to obey, not to think, stared at the man who had just defied the system itself. Petrov's superior, a stone-faced colonel, approached slowly. "You realize," he said, "if you were wrong, we'd all be dead." Petrov nodded. "And if I was right," he said quietly, "we still live." When command verified the event, they found the truth, a malfunction. The satellite had mistaken sunlight reflecting off clouds for incoming missiles. The system had betrayed itself. But Petrov had trusted his judgment, not the machine. Instead of praise, he received reprimand. His decision had embarrassed superiors who built their careers on the illusion of control. He was questioned, doubted, even ridiculed. No medals, no glory, only silence. He returned home that night, exhausted. He poured a glass of vodka, sat by his window, and stared into the dark horizon, wondering how close humanity had come to ending itself. In his report, he wrote a single line: "I had a feeling the alarm was false." That feeling had saved over 1 billion lives. Years later, when asked if he considered himself a hero, Petrov only shrugged. "I was just doing my job," he said. "I didn't want to be responsible for World War III." In an era ruled by pride and paranoia, one man's calm reason had defeated the arrogance of entire empires. The moral is simple. True strength is not in obeying fear, but in mastering it. Decades passed. The Soviet Union collapsed. The world moved on. And the story of Stanislav Petrov, the man who stopped World War III, was nearly forgotten. Only in the 1990s did his story emerge, uncovered by Western journalists digging through Cold War archives. The revelation shocked the world. Leaders and scientists called him the man who saved the world. Documentaries were made. Awards were offered. Yet Petrov lived quietly in a small apartment outside Moscow, surviving on a modest pension. He never sought fame. When asked why he had chosen not to report the alert, he said, "Because I knew something was wrong, and I couldn't let pride destroy us all." When he passed away in 2017, the news barely made headlines. But among those who knew his story, soldiers, scientists, and historians, his name became a quiet legend. They remembered not his rank or medals, but his courage to disobey fear itself. Because sometimes, the greatest victories are won, not by action, but by restraint. And sometimes, saving the world requires one man to simply say no. The soldier who stopped World War III alone. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories